I don't have really crystal clear memories of my first moments with her. I remember, but not as clearly as I could have probably. I remember they immediately placed her on my chest, and I remember her little foot reaching up to kick my face. I remember seeing that movement and thinking, well, just being happy, like to see her move a little bit and see her facial expressions change. And we heard her try to take some breaths, which was sweet and also heartbreaking. And she came out like 3 pounds and 15 ounces, which I think was like gracious of God in some way, because 4 pounds is the cutoff for ECMO. So it was just like clear, this is what's happening next. You know, part of me was feeling a little frantic, like, can someone help her in the OR? But I knew, you know, all the months of research and appointments, I knew that it was just time to be with her.
Welcome to The Rainbow Connection. This podcast was designed for mothers who are finding their way through life after loss. Whether you're grieving, trying to conceive again, newly pregnant, or holding hope in your heart for what's to come, this space is for you. Each week, you'll hear real and tender stories of love, heartbreak, healing, and the babies who continue to shape us. I'm your host, Kristen Mundy, a mother, doula, and a woman who's walked this path too. May these conversations remind you that you are not alone, that your baby is never forgotten, and that hope and grief can live here together. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to tell you about Mother Like No Other, a special community for women who are navigating the tender season of life after loss. Inside Mother Like No Other, you'll find a warm, supportive space of moms who truly get it, plus practical tools to help you through the hard days. You'll have access to a private online community where you can connect with me, an experienced doula, and other moms navigating the same journey. Each month, we gather for live workshops to connect and learn, covering topics like supporting your fertility journey, grounding strategies, self-advocacy, and ways to nurture your mind, body, and soul. We also bring in guest speakers to share their expertise and inspiration. The best part? It's only $22 a month. No long-term commitment, just real support when you need it most. If you're ready to feel more grounded, connected, and held through this season, come join us at thedoulalife.ca/mother. You do not have to go through this journey alone. And by joining us inside Mother Like No Other, you won't have to. Today's conversation on the Rainbow Connection is a tender one. I mean, most of them are tender, but I want you to know that if you're listening while navigating your own grief, pregnancy after loss, or motherhood after loss, that you are so held here. In this episode, I'm joined by Constance, a mother, a former professional ballerina, a military spouse, and someone whose story has stayed with me for a really long time. Constance is also a graduate of the Haven, so this conversation feels really deeply full circle for me. Constance is here to share the story of her beautiful little girl named Lucy, her angel baby, and the journey that unfolded after her stillbirth. We talk about medical dismissal, learning to advocate for your baby when everything feels incredibly overwhelming, and how loss reshapes your faith and identity, and what it looks like to step into a pregnancy after loss. This conversation is about the love that never leaves, about holding grief and hope at the same time, and about the ways our babies, even the ones who couldn't stay in our arms, continue to mother us. I'm so honored to share Constance's story with you today. Enough from me. Now let's hear from Constance. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Rainbow Connection. Today, I am joined with Constance. Hi, Constance. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so glad that she's here. We have worked together before. Constance is actually a graduate. Do I call them graduates of the Haven program? So we know each other quite well. I know her story quite well, but I'm really looking forward to sharing it with you all today because it's a very beautiful one. Constance is going to be sharing about her angel baby Lucy and her rainbow baby and her experience and her journey through motherhood. But before we dive into her story, why don't you share just a little bit with our listeners about yourself?
Yeah. So I'm a military wife. I'm a former professional ballet dancer. That's actually how my husband and I met. And then after having our little girl Lucy, I finished that career, and my husband enlisted, and it's been a whirlwind. But we live in Georgia, and I have 3 babies and a sweet little puppy dog. And yeah, I think that's a good little summary.
Beautiful. Yeah, perfect summary. I always, not always forget, but I often forget that you have a background in professional dancing and it's just the
Yeah.
coolest thing ever. And so does your husband, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, we would love to hear more about your Lucy girl. So why don't you share wherever you feel comfortable starting to share?
As a lot of first pregnancies go, we were pretty, like, blissfully unaware of any issues and kind of naive to all that can happen, in this broken world, and so we were just chugging along through the pregnancy and preparing and reading all the books and, just excited, and then at the 20-week scan, for our little girl, I remember noticing the technician, I thought she was kinda grumpy. I was like, "She's kinda grumpy. She's taking a long time." I'm like, okay." Didn't think anything of it. It was like a random Saturday they fit us in, and so we had to wait Monday to go talk to my OB about the results. And so we went home, and then my husband had just started a new job and just shifted careers, so he was really, like, wanting to make a good first impression, and I was going to a lot of the appointments on my own because he needed to be at work. And yeah, I just showed up on a Monday to that appointment all by myself, and, um, the it's kind of a blur, but I remember my OB, who I didn't have much of a relationship with really prior. I remember my OB kneeling down and telling me that our little girl had a congenital diaphragmatic hernia. And I don't remember anything else she said except for saying she was sorry she could not offer us an abortion and maybe we should try to go out of state. And um, the listeners can fall wherever they want to along beliefs in about this. And um, but I just remember thinking, absolutely not. Like, I
Mhm.
believe in miracles. We're gonna go see specialists.
Well, that
We're
sounds
gonna
like pretty presumptuous too, that you would wanna go that
Yeah.
route even. Yeah.
Before I even really knew much about what this was. So I
Hmm.
just remember feeling like, I'm not even really interested in having your care for me that much right now because you just jumped way over there, and I've just learned anyway. It was not the
Hmm.
most positive interaction with her, but it
No.
was just a complete blur. Yeah, I remember my husband and we didn't have a car at the time, so I, like, took a Lyft back to our apartment, waited for my husband to get home, and shared the news, and, um, yeah, so we were immediately just rushed into appointments with maternal fetal medicine, and, that care team also was we didn't really have the warmest experience. I just remember the amount of times, he would talk about the risk of fetal demise. He just kept tossing out fetal demise, fetal
Mm.
demise. He was a young guy.
Just so impersonal, right? Like,
It felt impersonal, yeah.
yeah.
He was he was a young dude. I don't know if he was married or had kids. I doubt it. Um, Flash forward, we ended up transitioning care to someone, right before having Lucy, who was so wonderful, and so that's part of the story later, but, um, yeah, so I'm having a hard time figuring out where to go next.
Why don't you
Uh,
tell us a little bit about, you know, what it was like to receive that diagnosis? Like, so you obviously went to a maternal fetal medicine. What
yeah,
were some of the things that they were kind of sharing with you about her CHD, right?
CHD,
Or
yeah,
yeah, okay.
CDH.
CDH. That sounds yeah,
Yeah,
that sounds right.
yeah. Um, so CDH, the diaphragmatic hernia is where at around 7 weeks, the diaphragm is supposed to close up, fully form at 7 weeks gestation, and it didn't. There was a
Hmm.
hole, And so they were just telling us and monitoring with every scan, like, her organs had started to, like her stomach and her liver, I think, had started to float above the diaphragm, separating the lungs from everything else, and so there wasn't space for her lungs to grow. And so they were monitoring her lung size and development very frequently. Um, I know we were exploring options for um, different surgeries. There's an in utero surgery that can help, like, make space for the lungs to grow enough for the child to be on support, and there are lots of babies who do make it. But that we then found out that she also had a heart condition,
Mhm.
um, hypoplastic left heart syndrome. And so just ultimately what we found out through weeks and months of appointments and scans and testing, was just that if her heart had been healthy and normal, there probably could have been something that we could have done to support her lungs. And if her lungs had been healthy and normal, if the diaphragm had been in place, then we could have had their fixes for the heart condition. But just with both of them being so weak, they just told us, like, it'll take a miracle. There's
Mhm.
0.01% chance, and they knew that we were wanting to take her as far as we could and provide every chance for life for her. And I'm thankful that our team was supportive of that. Um, but yeah, it was hard. It was hard for me to connect to her and to enjoy pregnancy, if that makes sense. I mean, pregnancy is not fun or comfortable, but
Mhm.
and I've always kind of struggled with my 2 rainbow babies as well with the idea of connecting with my baby. It feels so conceptual until
Mhm.
the baby is on me, and then I'm like, "Oh, hello." But it's hard. That connection isn't something that comes super easy for me, I feel like. Um, but I sought out some therapy, and my counselor just encouraged me. I'm so thankful, and it's such simple advice, but he encouraged me, like, in whatever way you can, in whatever way feels natural, connect to her, talk to
Mhm.
her, make memories. And he had children, but he hadn't experienced this. So I'm so thankful for that advice. Simple as it was, I was like, "Okay, I'll try." And I did, and I do have sweet memories of I would drink orange juice, and I would feel her kicking, and I would sit
Mhm.
in the bathtub and just think about her, because in the bathtub, you just see your belly in the water.
Mhm.
It's a very I feel like it's a really natural time to just, like, spend with your baby,
Yeah.
thinking about your
Like,
baby, knowing that
marvel in what your body is doing and this baby's doing, and
Yeah, yeah. So
mhm.
that advice was so helpful. And I feel like even diving into, okay, what can be done? What's
Mhm.
going on with her? What are these percentages? Like, just learning all I could was actually helpful for me. Even though
Mhm.
ultimately the answer was nothing can be done, I had peace at the end of the day, as much as can be had. I had peace in the decision of, um, palliative care, like, just we're just gonna spend time with her and not gonna rush her around to try and, get her on machines, because I had done my own thorough research, and I trusted the doctors, but also as a mom, I felt like it was so important for me to know I have done my due diligence. I understand, to a degree, like,
Mhm.
I had some peace with it. That gave me something to do, just researching and just I was being a mother.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you were given, like, an active opportunity to show up as her mother and do everything you could for her while she was here and advocate for her in
Yeah.
her life, right? Because she obviously couldn't do that in that you know? What did it look like, ultimately, weighing out those decisions? How, obviously impossible decisions, absolutely impossible decisions. What was that like for you guys? And,
Um,
what swayed you to make your decisions, I guess, as well, right?
Mhm. I mean, I just a love for my daughter, just love for Lucy, just
Mhm.
I I I knew I was already a mother, but just desire to step into that role, like, faithfully, like, every parent has a desire to
Mhm.
protect and to care for and provide, and I just felt like that urge and that instinct and that love was so strong. There's really no choice for me ever, like, it was always quite clear how I wanted to show up for her and how I wanted to fight for her, and, um, I remember we traveled down to Houston. We were in Austin, Texas. We traveled down to Houston to see specialists, and in hindsight, I think that our MFMs were sending us there as, like, "We know you wanna exhaust all the options," even in their heads, they were probably like, "We know what the answer is gonna be, but go see some
Mhm.
specialists and, like, dive deeper," and I'm thankful because, again, I knew and had peace, like, we have exhausted all options. We have gotten multiple opinions, but, I just remember they were giving us some really hard news, like, "Yes, we've checked again, we've checked deeper, and there's really no way,
Mhm.
that she could qualify for ECMO, or any of these, interventions after birth," and so we were just getting devastating confirmation, really, of what we already kind of knew. And I remember the doctor looking at me compassionately after delivering, like, very bluntly and clearly, our daughter's chances. I remember him looking at me and saying, "I know that you would stand on your head in the corner for hours and days if it would give her a chance to live, um, but unfortunately, that's just not what we're seeing as possible." And
Mhm.
I remember that acknowledgement even feeling, like, good to hear, like, compassion isn't even the word, but it just
Just, like,
acknowledging.
witnessed, right?
Yes, yes, just
Mhm.
witness to my fierce love for her already,
Mhm.
and our efforts. And so, yeah. So it was devastating, but also it was hard for my head and heart to connect with what was happening. I had never had a
Mhm.
child before. I knew it would be devastating, but I didn't know how it would feel at all. So it
Mhm.
was it was hard to connect sometimes. It was kind of easy
Mhm.
to just go about in a daze for weeks and months that we were waiting.
How long or how far along were you when you met with these doctors in Houston, right?
Mhm.
Um, how far along were you and, like, what kind of, I guess, prognosis or what were they telling you to expect, like, moving forward?
Mm. Um, I mean, they knew that it was up to our care team at the hospital we were delivering at to kind of decide what to do moving forward. They were
Mhm.
more giving a second opinion on, is this or that possible for her? Um, so we went back to Austin and ended up just talking with the palliative care nurses. It was probably around 28, 29 weeks.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
Mhm. And how did things look, moving on from that, I guess? Was everything just like it's a wait and see?
Mhm.
Yeah, like what did life kind of look like for you guys? Like knowing that this is her prognosis, there's not much that can be done, making the decision, the impossible decision to, decide on palliative care.
Mhm.
What happened next? Like what did the rest of your pregnancy kind of look like?
Yeah. Um, I'm a pretty open book, and I had a really close community in Texas, so I was sharing with friends, with my dancing friends, with my church community, updates on what was happening. I was sharing on my Instagram, so people from different parts of my life knew and were praying, and a few people reached out and connected me with other moms who had lost babies, and frankly, it was hard for me to wanna talk to these people.
Mm,
I think part of me was in a little bit of, like, denial that this would be like, if I talk to someone who's lost their child, that's like me admitting she's gonna die, and that even though
mm,
I knew that was really hard, but I did end up saying yes to one coffee date with a girl who was really kind and open, but just said, "Ask me whatever you want. I'm not gonna overshare. I only wanna share with you what's helpful." So, like,
Mm.
and she was an open book, um, and I remember
What
her
was
encouraging.
that what was that yeah, what was that like for you to just, like, finally have that opportunity to talk to another mom that's kind of been in your shoes, somewhat anyways?
Yeah. It was, she had experienced a stillbirth, and
Mhm.
so our pregnancy experiences were different. She hadn't had,
Mhm.
you know, she hadn't walked the road that I was presently walking, but she had walked the road of losing a child. And so she was giving I was asking her for advice on, like, what how did we spend our time with our child, and what does it look like
Mhm.
afterwards? What did it look like afterwards for you? Um, it was it was bittersweet. It was a little hard to hear because, again, it was me, like, acknowledging and having to acknowledge and imagine myself in those shoes.
Mhm.
But it was really helpful, and she was really wonderful. Yeah, she encouraged me to take pictures. She said, "We wish we had more pictures, so take as many as you can if you want." And I think she mentioned like reading stories and singing to her child in the hospital, and so I made a playlist. I made a birth playlist, and it was just on repeat in the hospital room with her. But I also made. We ended up finding like 6 or 8 special songs for her that made us think of her, and
Mm.
so that was some advice that she gave that was really ended up being helpful, but it was hard. It was hard to talk with her about that.
Mhm. Of course, like,
Yep.
no one really wants to have to plan for that or know that,
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, knowing ahead of time is like, yeah, you can prepare, but it kind of, takes away from that innocence or, like, that bliss that you have in the meantime, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what did, the final weeks of your pregnancy kind of look like? Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Um, I remember they were telling us that there was a very high chance she could, um, be stillborn, or that I might go into labor early, so I was kind of, like, ready to go to the hospital.
Mhm.
Our maternal fetal medicine had just kind of I had initially said, like, "I think I went to labor naturally, I don't really know." They didn't really give us much guidance. The guy just said, "Okay." And we ended up getting a call saying, "Hey, the hospital you're planning to deliver at is full, but there's this, special delivery ward at the children's hospital. It just opened, and it's beautiful, and it's quiet, and there's a room there, and it just means you have to transition care and go see some new doctors before they're your providers for the delivery." Um, and we said yes to that and ended up getting transitioned to such a wonderful team. Like, they were parents and they were grandparents, and I had their numbers. I texted them in the middle of the night when I went into labor. Like, they were wonderful. And they said, "Hey, what's your goal? What do you want? What do you want as far as your time with Lucy?" And I was like, "Well, we wanna spend time with her for as long as she's alive, and afterwards" I didn't really know much what to say, I just wanted to spend time with her, and they said,
Mhm.
"Have you ever been counseled about getting a C-section? Because birth is really strenuous, and her heart and lungs aren't very strong." And I said, "No, it was never mentioned to me," and I
Mm.
ended up changing my mind, and I'm so thankful I did. 'Cause I had a C-section and, um yeah, anyway, that's down the road, but we transitioned care teams, and I'm so thankful for that, and we're just kind of waiting to see, like, will I go into labor early? It's just a waiting game, really.
Mhm. How did you, like, manage that waiting game? Like, what was helpful for you at that time?
Mm. Well, a little rescue dog came into our life, and so while
Mm.
my husband was gone 9 to 7 at his new job, I had a little creature to take care of, which was truly, like, so emotionally helpful for me.
Mm.
Um I watched a lot of Netflix. I tried to keep up with friends, keep going on walks and getting outside and just kinda waiting. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I listened to some audiobooks. I remember I had a hard time focusing on reading, but I listened to some audiobooks just kind of trying to prepare spiritually too.
Mhm.
Um, I'm a Christian, but, like, this is gonna shake anyone's faith, this kind of thing. So, there was a really helpful book called God on Mute about unanswered prayer, and I remember listening to that in the shower and just being like, "Okay, I don't know how I'm gonna get through this, but, like, I feel like I'm armed with some, like good information and as armed as I can be for something like this that's coming down the road." But, yeah, there's
Mhm.
really no way to be prepared, but I tried.
Mhm. So, with the likelihood of them saying, we don't know when things are going to happen, and now shifting over towards a cesarean, like, did they want to book a cesarean? Were they like, let's wait and see? Like, how did that kind of
Mm.
unfold for you?
I'm trying to remember.
Mhm.
I
It's hard.
I
The details get blurry, right?
Yeah, I think that they did book one, but they wanted her to have a chance to grow as large as possible because
Mhm.
if any kind of interventions would be possible, she would need to be, like, 4 pounds. That's what they
Mhm.
told me, and so we were just tracking her weight and tracking her lung size and just waiting. So, yeah, so I think there was something scheduled around her due date, which was March 26th, um, but we didn't quite make it there, so
Mhm. Mhm. Because I know you mentioned before that you were texting your care team in the middle of the night when you went into
yeah.
labor.
Yeah.
So, what was that like?
Yeah, I remember I'd had a little bit of Braxton Hicks, but I remember waking up around, like, 1 or 2 in the morning and thinking, "This is really different." Just they're
Mhm.
feeling different. I started timing them. They're pretty close together. They were, like, radiating into my back a little bit, and, yeah, I texted a lady from the care team, and I don't know why she was looking at her phone at 2 in the morning, but she was wonderful, and she said, "I think it's time for you to go to the hospital," and, um, she said, "I've alerted everyone, you're on your way, they'll be ready for you."
Mm.
That
How
was
many
really
weeks
nice to
how
know.
many weeks were you at this point?
37.
Okay.
Yeah, so
So,
pretty close
full
to the
term,
end, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
Mhm.
sorry, not 37. I think it was, like, 35. But yeah,
Okay.
close to the end, yeah.
Yeah, very close, yeah.
Yeah.
So, you went into your C-section, it was the middle of the night. What was that like for you just knowing, like, you have been on this journey since your anatomy scan pretty
Yeah.
much, knowing that you have set up, palliative care for your baby, and you're finally at, like, this moment. What was that like for you guys heading into that?
I think my husband and I had pretty different experiences.
Mm.
At least on the outside, I was terrified. I didn't
Mhm.
expect to feel this way, but driving to the hospital in the dark, I just remember starting to feel so anxious, like,
Mm.
knowing that
Mhm.
my time with my daughter was coming to an end. I felt like the stopwatch had started or the countdown had
Mhm.
started. Whatever amount of time that I had with her physically was running out, and I remember that
Mhm.
just started to really kill me. I remember my husband he was just such a rock. Cliche as that may be, like, truly, he was not making light of anything, but he was helping keep me from spiraling, like, he was
Mhm.
in some ways, he was keeping things a little light, like, just I don't really know how to describe it, but he
He was
was
just
really
balancing, yeah.
he was balancing and supporting me so beautifully, and I know that if I hadn't he was doing that for me, I don't I know that he was hurting too and scared and not
Mhm.
knowing what to expect, but he was really wonderful, and I was really
Mm.
struggling on that ride to the hospital, and I remember asking for some anxiety, something in my IV to help calm me down, and, um but looking back now, I also was having some labor shakes, I was
Mhm.
anxious, but also some labor shakes, and, um, yeah, it started to get hard and really real at that point.
Mhm. Mhm. So you went into your C-section. You had your C-section. What happened next?
Yeah, they, because of whatever medicine they had given me to help me feel a little calm, I I'm sad about this. I don't have really crystal clear memories of my first moments with her. I remember, but not as clearly as I could have probably.
Mhm.
I remember they immediately placed her on my chest, and I remember her little foot reaching up to kick my face. I
Hmm.
remember seeing that movement and thinking, well, just being happy, like, to see her move a little bit and see her facial expressions change, and, um, we heard her try to take some breaths, which was sweet and also heartbreaking.
Mhm.
And she came out, like, 3 pounds and 15 ounces, which which I think was, like, gracious of God in some way because 4 pounds is the cutoff for ECMO, so it was just, like,
Hmm.
clear, this is what's happening next. Part of me was feeling a little frantic, like, "Can someone help her in this OR?" But
Mhm.
but I knew, all the months of research and appointments, I knew that it was just time to be with her.
Mhm.
So they rolled us back to the room. I remember they put a little beanie on her with a bow, and it looked so sweet, but I remember taking it off immediately because I was like, "I wanna see every inch of my baby, like, I wanna see her beautiful
Mhm.
head," and she had a lot of blonde hair, and, um, the anesthesiologist was wonderful and was, like, holding my speaker, so we had some peaceful music that I had chosen that was playing in the hospital just the whole time we were there, that somehow that just helped the atmosphere of the room, just helped my heart stay calm some of the time. Um, and so yeah, we initially thought that we wouldn't have much time with her. Um, I remember we kept, like, feeling like we needed to say goodbye, but eventually they were reassuring us, like, "You can she can be here all night. We have a special cold cot for her." Um, and And so we just kind of settled in and started enjoying her. That was another way my husband was so, so helpful, like, I would just start weeping uncontrollably, and he would just calm me down and just say, like, "Look at her beautiful lips,"
Hmm.
and would just talk with her and, like, dote over her like a father does his little girl,
Mhm.
and, um that just brought me down to, like, yeah, enjoying her. This is all the time we get, and I need to enjoy her as much as I can.
Mhm.
And so him just calmly just enjoying and delighting in her, truly, like, I would not have been able to do that, if he hadn't been there just kind of grounding me through doing that himself. And
Mhm.
so that's what we did. We sang her songs and we just took videos and photos, and I remember the second day, her heart was beating for 3 hours in our arms, so we were talking to her and hoping, like, she can hear us,
Mm.
saying, "I love you," and, um but even that next day, so she was born in the morning, and we had the whole day with her, and she slept on a cold cot next to us in the hospital, and I remember, like, I had just had the operation, but just getting up and walking around the room with her, the quiet moment. My husband had gone to the car to get something. There was no one in the room, and I was thinking, like, what's something that a mother does with her child? Like, she walks around and holds her baby.
Mhm.
I wanna do that. So,
Mhm.
I just shuffled around the room, rocking her and just being a mother for a few hours.
Mhm. Mhm.
And, yeah, It was it was special, like, those memories are still so special to me.
Mhm. The most special. It's really the most sacred time. And I think back to, that conversation that you had with that other lost mom in the coffee shop and how she was like, take all the photos. And
Mhm.
it's just something that I don't even in the moment that it's so precious,
Yeah.
but it's so hard to know how precious it is until you're kind of on the other side. And
Yeah.
um, being able to have those moments of singing and dancing and taking the photos, it really is something that becomes your most cherished possessions ever, right?
Yeah.
Having that time. And
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you were able to have that,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. What did, it look like for you guys when you had to make that horrible decision to ultimately leave the hospital? And
Mhm.
um yeah, what did that look like for you?
Oh, um, it was hard. I think the hardest
Mhm.
moment was when they had to take her.
Yeah.
Um, you know, yeah, that moment will, forever be stamped on me.
Mhm.
Um, and leaving the hospital, they were rolling me out, and I was holding her empty swaddle, but not her,
Mhm.
and there's just no heartbreak like that I know
Mhm.
of. Um, I remember the nurse who was there when they had to take Lucy had to she had just come on shift, and she had to help roll her out and had to witness me yelling, and I was, grabbing my husband and asking him to hold me so I wouldn't run down the hallway with Lucy. It was really hard, and I
Mhm.
remember feeling bad somehow, I'm so sorry that this nurse has to face my wrath, but
Mhm.
truly it was like mother's wrath and grief.
Mhm.
But I remember her coming in later that night because she was like, "My job is now to take care of you, and you are
Mhm.
worthy of care, and we're gonna take care of you, but you also need to, cooperate and want to be taken, you." I don't remember her exact wording, but, "You need to this is now about healing for you, and that's my job," and I remember just kind of resigning myself, "Okay, yeah, I've got to my life is gonna continue now, and I have to find a way to do that, and these people are here to help me, and I'm so thankful for her. She was really wonderful and just brought me back down to the ground, and, um, yeah, so that night was the hardest, and leaving the hospital was hard too. We took a video of the room we were in together. I remember we were all dressed and had our shoes on, and we just took a little video of this room that felt so sacred to us now, the place
Mhm.
we had the only 4 walls that had seen our little family of 3, and yeah, it was really hard.
Mhm. The hardest. I hope you're enjoying today's episode. I want to pause for a moment and talk to those of you who are pregnant after loss and are quietly thinking about your birth. I know that for many of us, birth after loss feels different, and for good reason. It's not just about preferences or aesthetics anymore. It's about safety, and it's about trust. It's about walking into a space that once held devastation and wondering how you're supposed to ever feel empowered there again. That's exactly why I created Reclaim, the Pregnancy After Loss birth course. This is not your typical birth class. It's not about creating the perfect plan or pretending fear doesn't exist. It's about understanding your options. It's about learning how to advocate for yourself inside appointments and in the delivery room. It's about tending to your nervous system so you can walk into your birth feeling as grounded as can be, even when you're still carrying grief. Inside Reclaim, we talk about rebuilding trust in your body, navigating triggers in medical spaces, making informed decisions without feeling pressured, and defining what a safe birth truly means for you. Because after loss, safety is not about control. It's about having a voice. It's about being informed, and it's about being supported. So if you are pregnant after loss and want to feel more prepared, more steady, and more empowered as you bring your baby earthside, I would love to support you inside Reclaim. You can learn more about Reclaim at thedoulalife.ca/reclaim. All right, now let's get back to today's episode. What did life, look like for you and Max just after that? Like, what did life look like? I mean, now obviously you're grieving, you're stepping into like this new era of having to be a functioning human somehow. And now you're a mother, but in a very different way. Like, what did that, next journey look like for you guys? And how did the people, in your life kind of show up for you at that time?
They really showed up.
Mm.
There was an incredible meal train that went on for I think 2 months, multiple
Mm.
meals a week. Like, we barely bought groceries.
I mean, food
It
is so healing, right? Like, how I always think like, how do you even function after that, let alone like cook a meal for yourself?
Yeah.
It just feels weird. Like, it's weird to even exist, let alone like do
Mhm.
things.
Yeah.
So
And
it's so helpful.
I barely even, wanted to eat the first week, just
Mhm.
but just having people gently caring for me and reminding me that to take care for myself,
Yeah.
not letting me get away with just, you know, sinking into despair.
Mhm.
So yeah, food was brought to us. My mom stayed in town for a long time. Um, I wanted a lot of just quiet time with myself and my husband.
Mhm.
Um, I think because he was the only one who had experienced that with me. I just felt like he was the only person I really wanted to be around.
Mhm.
And so I remember I think the first time we, went out into the world and left our house again, we went to a little, Japanese paper store and bought a special journal and special pens, and we wrote to Lucy for the next week. We would write little letters to her, memories with her in that journal. That was his
Mhm.
idea. And that
Oh,
was
so
really
sweet.
special. And printed out photos and put frames all around our house of her. Um, we went to visit her at her, burial spot, which is a beautiful, forest. Um, it was like a natural burial cemetery, but it was just a beautiful, quiet, peaceful forest spot.
Oh.
And, that was special. Read her stories and just sit on a blanket and sit there. We would go we would go quite often at first, and
Mhm.
that was healing.
Mhm.
I remember an odd thing I didn't expect getting home and looking at my closet and thinking, "I don't wanna wear any of these clothes." I associate
Mhm.
these clothes with a past identity, and I am now
Mhm.
a mother, and my home does not reflect it, and my expression of myself as a childless woman does not reflect who I am now, and that was really painful. I didn't expect that.
Mhm.
I threw away a lot of clothes, and my mom was so wonderful. She took me shopping and was like, "Literally anything that reminds you of Lucy, that makes you feel like Lucy's mama, like, let's add it to our cart," and she got me some new clothes that spoke to me, that I don't know, that
You know,
was special.
it's funny that you bring this up. Not funny. It's like, I think it's just more of a common occurrence than people actually realize is that, like, when you do lose your baby, I mean, when you do become a mother, your identity shifts right away, but you kind of have like a double whammy, right? Like, you
Mhm.
become a mother and you don't have your baby. And it really is not just grief, but it's an identity crisis. Like,
Mhm.
you transform in a moment, right? And now you have to somehow find this new life. And it's true. Like, I know I went through it. I remember looking at my wardrobe being like, this makes me kind of like sick to look at almost. Like,
Yeah.
this doesn't feel like me. I don't feel like me. Who even am I? Like, it's
Yeah.
just this whole like unraveling of this new person that you're walking into and becoming. And like, your mom just taking you shopping, it's just like such a simple act of love. And
Yeah.
being seen, and, like, that must have felt so comforting to have someone be
Yeah.
like, "Let's not second guess it, and, like, let's just take you shopping because
Yeah.
I won't understand this, and, like, I'm just gonna do whatever it is to help you step into
Yeah.
this new life and new life without Lucy." And in a way, obviously Lucy's still here, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean.
I do.
So obviously, like, you guys ultimately, made the decision to try this again, like,
Yeah.
walk into the fire again, right? Walk into something obviously going to be completely different and
Mm.
probably very scary. What was that, like for you? Did you guys do any genetic testing? Did you do any investigations? Like, what did making that decision look like to
Mhm.
try again?
We had done genetic testing. They had kept
Mhm.
sending us back, like, "We found nothing. Let's do something that's a little more comprehensive. We found nothing. Let's go
Mhm.
dive a little deeper." And ultimately, nothing was ever found genetically that was linked to
Mhm.
her anomalies.
Yeah, from my understanding, like, CDH is just something that happens sometimes, and it's
Yeah.
just, like,
Well,
devastating,
they
like,
thought
how.
because she had a heart condition and she had CDH,
Mhm.
and she had, like, a single umbilical what is it called?
Like a va or
Ventricle
a
ventricle? No. No, single
thalamus
umbilical
cord?
yeah, maybe.
Mhm.
It's been a minute. They were like, "We really think it's genetic, but we haven't found anything." So, um, my husband was definitely a bit more cautious and afraid,
Mhm.
understandably so. I really don't know why, but I was not afraid to conceive again. I think
Hmm.
in my head, like, this is, like, the most rare thing that could happen,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
and we've already been through the worst, and I'm already a mother, and I'm ready to hold a baby of mine again. I'm
Mhm.
ready to
Mhm.
actively be a mother. So ready. Like, every ounce of my body was aching to, like, actively be a mother, not just,
Mhm.
not just in title and, yes, I am a mother, but, like, I don't know
It
if you're
needed to
saying
be
it.
an act, like, you
Yes,
needed to walk into it,
yes.
yeah.
I needed an outlet for this new identity, and so I really did not feel afraid.
Mhm.
Um, there were some nerves on scans, but, going to scans, like, whoa,
Sure, of course.
but just the decision to conceive for me was a no-brainer, like and more is just, like, yeah, just an outlet for this pain and this identity, this crisis, really, like, um, I just felt like a no-brainer, like, this is what I want to
Mhm.
happen next.
Someone said something on a last episode that it kinda, like, stuck with me, and it was like, "Well, life is, like, really hard right now, like, why don't we just, like, kinda continue the
Yeah,
hardness?" Like, right?
yeah,
It's like, let's just keep going, I guess, right?
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, like, we've already been through the worst, like, the worst could happen again or it could not, but
Mhm.
I don't know, it just
Mhm.
it was an easy choice for me for some reason.
Mhm. So what was it like when you guys ultimately found out you were pregnant again? Like, how soon after was it that, after Lucy had passed?
It was, I think it was June we learned that we were pregnant, and Lucy was born in, February 19th, so
Okay.
yeah, so pretty soon. Um, it was really I mean, I was really excited. Yeah, I was excited. I definitely took pregnancy tests, like, every single day to make sure the lines were getting stronger, and
Mhm.
we had experienced a missed miscarriage right before getting pregnant with our rainbow baby, so yeah, I was definitely, like, anxious to make sure that this baby was growing steadily and strong, but we were really, really excited.
Mhm. What did that pregnancy kinda look like for you? Was it way different than Lucy? Did you feel like you could tap into that excitement the whole pregnancy? Or yeah, I would love to hear more about what that experience was like, being pregnant after loss, you know?
Yeah. It was it was mostly really joyful, but
Mhm.
there were some moments of deep grief, feeling like we're leaving Lucy behind, or,
Mhm.
maternity outfits I had gotten and worn proudly with Lucy. Putting them on for the first time with little Oleg in my belly was really hard.
Mhm.
Um, and then the second and third times, not so much, but I remember I remember really leaning into, like, thinking about Lucy, journaling, just, like, spending my time being just Lucy's mama for a while before Oleg was born. Just I'm never gonna have this much time to really,
Mhm.
like, dwell on Lucy and visit her and think about
Mhm.
her. And so I remember leaning into that in my pregnancy with Oleg. Like, things are about to change, it's about to be really beautiful, but I'm leaving a little bit of this life behind,
Mhm.
this experience of being just Lucy's mom, which is
Mhm.
so painful, but realizing that it was also special in some ways. I had all of this attention and love to devote just to Lucy, and so I wanted to exercise that, and then, all while waiting for Oleg to come, and loving
Mhm.
on him too, but, um, yeah, it was
I mean,
special.
life naturally does change because, having a baby at home, and naturally just life gets really busy. And I
Mhm,
know that so many other mothers are like nodding their heads because it's true. Like you do have this like special time after grief where you get to just like be so present in your feelings. You get to be so present with your baby. You
mhm,
get to like kind of stay in this bubble, and it's painful, but it's
mhm.
also like has a lot of, specialness to it, right? And it keeps us like so close. And then life
Yeah,
eventually, especially after you welcome a rainbow baby, it gets naturally like busy,
yeah,
and your threshold and your space is naturally smaller.
yeah,
And yeah, it's just like a nice period of life to kind of look back on, right? And be like, that
yeah,
was really hard, but there was like a lot of specialness to it too.
yeah. Unique time, yeah.
Yeah. So what did, it look like? What was like the biggest supportive things during your pregnancy besides being, so connected with Lucy and leaning into your relationship with her, but what was like really supportive in your pregnancy after loss?
Well, you were.
Mm.
Um, yeah, you really were. Um,
Mm.
I think just continuing to, like, connect with Oleg, like, taking those same
Mhm.
baths and, yeah, just trying to, and as much as I could, trying to enjoy the pregnancy.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, spending time preparing for him. I truly wasn't very anxious, and I'm kind of baffled by the amount of peace that I had in my pregnancy with
Mm.
him. Um, yeah, I had a really special baby shower where we set up, like, a special corner for Lucy with photos and,
Mm.
um oh, just some really special women in my life. Like, I remember feeling like it would be too painful to have a baby shower for Oleg. Like, that was hard for me to wrap my head around because we never got there with Lucy. We never had one.
Mhm.
And so that just kind of killed me. But the women who hosted and planned this were so thoughtful, and um it was a really beautiful, sweet time where Lucy was acknowledged and celebrated and spoken about, and the joy, like, everything was held in tension at that baby shower.
Mm.
The joy and anticipation of the healthy baby coming into the world, and then speaking about Lucy too. So
Mhm.
that was really wonderful.
Mhm. So special that like both could be held and honored, especially because Lucy didn't get that opportunity.
Yeah.
What did, Oleg's, birth? I would love to hear more about his birth and how that transpired. Obviously, you had a cesarean before. Were you
Mhm.
walking into this birth with different desires? What did that look like for you, and how did that all unfold?
Mhm. So initially with Lucy, I had been thinking that I was going to be laboring with her. I thought that's what I
Mhm.
wanted. I hadn't thought about the C-section. But the
Mhm.
thought of laboring and delivering her filled me with anxiety because
Mhm.
there was a lot going on. It
Mhm. A lot of
yeah,
unknowns, right?
a
Yeah.
lot of unknowns added on
Mhm.
to already a lot of unknowns and fearful things. So I chose to have a repeat C-section with our next baby, 'cause I just knew I probably couldn't handle laboring, like, emotionally and
Mhm.
mentally, that already had some baggage because I had been preparing myself, but filled with fear the whole time,
Mhm.
and it had only been a year, really, when Oleg was born, and it had really just been a year since we'd had Lucy, and yeah, those 2 things combined, I chose a repeat C-section, and, um, it was scheduled around, I think, 38 weeks, um and it was it was so sweet. It was so
Mm.
healing, like, I had the chance to go back to the same care team, the same special delivery unit, even though Oleg had no special needs for being in that ward near the children's hospital. They had a room available there, and my OB reached out and said she was so wonderful. She had just been on call for when I went into labor with Lucy, but she was really just wonderful. I remember feeling really connected to her, and I immediately switched my care over to her for my post, birth appointments. Um, and so she also delivered Oleg,
Mm.
um, in the exact same like, the room right next to where we'd had Lucy. Um, and I remember walking into that hospital for the first time since leaving it in with empty arms, um, and just tears streaming down my face, but, like, the nurses who had been there for me with Lucy, the one who had said, "Now it's time to take care of you," like, she greeted me with the biggest hug and tears streaming down her
Aw.
face and a sign on our door that said, "Welcome back, mama," and, she gave me a special necklace right before going in with, like, forget-me-not flowers and just so many wonderful personal, like, acknowledgments, like,
Ah,
such personal care,
those
yeah.
small things make such an astronomical difference, right? Like,
Yes.
they saw you. They really, like, were honoring your experience, and, oh, my
Yeah.
heart
I
my
know.
heart is just like, God bless those people, like, that
Ye
they got it, right?
They really got it, yeah.
Mhm.
Um, a story from right after we delivered Lucy and my, like, 6-week appointment with our OB, I I'm sure a lot of moms can, also experience this, like, it's kind of triggering to go back into a doctor's office,
Totally.
do the same thing you did in your pregnancy after a loss and get weighed and sit in the waiting room, all those things, um but I was going to see this new OB. I hadn't seen her since she delivered Lucy, and I was just holding, like, a little photo of Lucy because I was anxious and I was sad, and I just wanted to have that photo right there,
Mhm.
and the OB came in the room, and she was like, "Oh, can I see this photo?" And was just telling me, like, she was so beautiful, and she said, "Do you mind if I have this photo? I would be so honored to, like, frame it and to have it in my house so that you know there's someone else looking at and thinking
Aw.
about your girl." Um, and that just meant the world to me. And then for her to
Yeah.
get to bring Oleg into the world too, um, yeah, just beyond wonderful and redemptive,
Mhm.
and I was fearful to go back to that hospital, truly. It's
Of
we had
course, yeah.
traumatic memories there, but it
Mhm.
ended up being so healing in a lot of ways.
Mm. Mm, I'm sure it was, like, a very different experience, and, just them being so, like I said, like, just so they got it. That
Yeah.
even that in itself is just so redemptive and healing and, like, nourishing to your soul, and I'm so glad that you got that experience because it's just so important. It shifts your and ships and shapes your entire life, right? And how you walk into this, like, new era of being an earth mom and how you view your birth satisfaction. And it's just so important.
Yeah.
What did like life kind of look like after that? Now you were an earth mom and your husband was a dad in the physical world. Like, what was that like for you guys, to finally bring home your baby?
Yeah. I mean, it was beyond wonderful. We
Mhm.
had all the same, like, new parent anxieties, probably ratcheted up a
Sure.
notch, because of our experiences with Lucy. Um, but yeah, it was wonderful, overwhelming. I
Mhm.
remember the first appointment we had to take our little baby to, like, 2 days after getting home from the hospital. My mom was in town again, and I remember crying in the rocking chair while baby blues for sure, while nursing Ralph. I had gotten almost no sleep, and she was feeding me eggs with a fork.
Oh my gosh.
Um, I remember just being like, "Oh, thank the Lord for mothers."
You're like,
Um
I wish for this life. Like, this is the dream. And it is the dream. Like, even the
Yeah,
hard stuff, it's like,
yeah,
this was the dream. Like, I,
yeah,
yeah. God
yeah,
bless your mom, though. She sounds like just such like an amazing woman. Like
yeah,
I feel like you're her baby, right? And she's coming to
yeah,
take care of her baby. And
yeah,
I'm sure in her being the grandparent, and I'm sure she has a story to tell of her own to see her baby like go through this. And
yeah, and to
I
lose her
can,
granddaughter.
yeah, I can only
I know that
imagine, right?
she had her own grief, and I wasn't able to, like, grieve with her
Hmm.
in the moments right after losing
Of
Lucy,
course not. Yeah.
but I know that it was so selfless of her to put aside in some ways, to put aside her own grieving and just do whatever I needed to take care of me,
Yeah. To
and
show up as a mom for her baby, right? Yeah.
yeah, and
Wow.
yeah.
What does it look like for you and your family to kind of keep Lucy in your family and honor Lucy? What does that look like?
Oh, there's there's a lot of little ways. I mean, we keep photos of her around the house.
Mhm.
In the early days, I wanted a photo, like, in any part of the house, I could always look up and see my baby's face. And
Mm.
now that's not every single wall, but we keep we keep photos of her around, and we talk about her to our other
Mhm.
2 kids, and, um, my husband and I say good morning and good night to her, like, turn out
Mm.
the light and say, "Good night, Lucy," and, her face was so, like, pink, peachy, and her head
Mhm.
was so fuzzy, and so we call her our little peach, and anytime, like,
Aw.
I'm wearing this peach dress for
Oh,
Lucy,
yeah.
and anytime we see, like, a peachy sunset, our 2-year-old would say, "Mama, peachy sky! It's a peachy sky!"
Mm.
And so, um, yeah, just passing down those memories to Oleg and talking about her together, even in little ways, has been really important to us.
Mhm. And that's just gonna like keep coming up then, right? Because then they are carrying the memory of their sister and they're gonna bring it up. It's not just like always you. I love that, when children do get involved because they just say it how it is and they bring it up at the most random times. And you're like, oh, I'm so thankful that like I have someone else now
Mhm.
to bring her up and to carry her memory forward and to notice the peach skies. Like, it's not just me, like, we're doing this
Yeah,
as a family. And I think
yeah,
that's just so special.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Well, Constance, I just, want to thank you so much for coming on here today and sharing Lucy with us, sharing Oleg with us, sharing your experience and your journey through motherhood and all the really hard things that you've had to navigate, but mostly just knowing Lucy, getting to know her. I feel so honored to hear her story. And I'm so, you know, inspired and enamored by you and your strength. And I know there's women that are going to listen to today and they're going to walk away feeling a little bit more seen and a little bit more heard. And validated from hearing you. So I just want to thank you so much for sharing this huge piece of your heart with us today.
And I want to thank you for doing this. This is a resource that I wish I had had um,
Mm,
when we had gotten that diagnosis, to hear from other moms'
mm-hmm.
experiences. So thank you. And thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk about my girl.
Is there a way that, people could connect with you? Like maybe there would be a CDH mama listening to this right now.
Mm.
What's the best way of them getting in touch with you if they wanted to talk?
Yeah. Probably Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
My handle is Consty Bleak. So CONSTY and then BLEEK.
I'll make sure to share it in the show notes,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
know that, CDH mamas have a pretty good support system with each other and really lean on each other. So I'll definitely make sure to put your handle in the show notes so they can reach out to you.
Yeah, I would love that. I'd be honored.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Constance. It's so lovely chatting with you today.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to connect more, Instagram is where I hang out most. So come join me in a beautiful community of lost moms for pregnancy after loss education, real life grief talk, and deep solidarity. You can find me at the.doula.life and at the Rainbow Connection podcast. And remember, you are never alone. I'll see you in the next episode.